Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and thanks so much for coming back. But for everyone out there who's new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer, soda, water, coffee in the fridge. Cheers to everyone out there on the internet. We're the same age.
Yeah.
We're talking about not having access to the internet or anything like that. We're 12, 13, 14 years old. We know who Cannibal Corpse is.
Yeah.
We know who Deicide is at that age.
Yeah.
And the only way that a 13-year-old with no internet access really knows about Cannibal Corpse is because they're probably a pretty big fucking band.
Yeah. And they were like,
yeah.
I didn't even really realize this until I got like much older and kind of started really studying how the music industry works. And like, you know, nu metal kind of came along and showed, because like I said before, you know, labels like music, it's very much a business to the people other than the artists, you know, that are involved in it. So nu metal came along and it was still like roughly the same demographic, but it was able to, they could market it to way more people were interested in it because it was easier to listen to. And then Slipknot came out and just buried it by implementing death metal. A lot of people forget that like the core members of Slipknot came from death metal bands. They weren't like in, you know, like they weren't always just in nu metal bands and just started playing that, you know, or the same with like Ryan from Mudvayne, the bass player. He's like well documented, like Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, like that's most of the shit he listens to. And like, I don't understand why, again, with it's more like genre snob stuff. Like you hate Slipknot because in comparison to bands now, yes, there's tons of bands that are way heavier than Slipknot is, than anything Slipknot ever made probably.
But that like,
but they basically blew the door open for things like deathcore to exist because it redirected the metal genre back to heavy, back to extreme, because where it was going, like, and now it's kind of funny, it's like full circle, like everyone loves Limp Bizkit again, but for a good like 15 years, like Limp Bizkit was the corniest thing on earth to everybody.
Yeah.
You know? And now all of a sudden, now that it's like we're out of the woods and no one gives a shit what people think about people's personal music choices anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's okay to admit, like, you know what, I liked $3 Bill Y'all. Like,
yeah.
I had that album. Like everyone did.
Those were fun records.
They sure were.
That's the thing. Is like it can't be all serious all the time, which is what makes it really hard sometimes for me to be in a band. Granted, with Grey Walker, we goof off a good bit and like we're not like on paper a very like serious looking band.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers are very, very much, you know, rooted in an aesthetic that I think is appropriate for you guys. Like I don't want to hear that shit that you're doing and see you being goofy on stage.
Neither do I. You know, like it should be, at least in terms of my like philosophy on it or whatever. Like, I mean, obviously we don't just walk around in all black clothing. Oh, I have all black on. Don't. Okay, listen. This was a mistake with my wardrobe. Can we get me a new shirt here, guys? Thank you. Yeah, they'll get me in another color.
Yeah.
Like we're not like doom and gloom people, like as we walk around in public, but like what our music is, like it's dark subject matter.
Yeah.
So like if we came out in like Speedos and had balloons and shit everywhere, like it would kind of, what's the point of playing dark music then? Like we should just play something a little different.
And I think that's the thing that like, I don't know if maybe people realize this later, but like Limp Bizkit was never really meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people started like treating them in this way where it's like you had to observe them through the same lens that you would observe like a Slipknot or a heavier band. Like that they were supposed to as a party. It was always supposed to be a fun party. And now it's just like, it was always kind of silly. I mean, they got popular off of a ridiculous George Michael cover, right? It's like, why do you think
my least
it's
favorite
weird?
Limp Bizkit song.
Yeah. Why do you think it's funny or weird now that like Fred Durst has a silly outfit on and is trolling a bit. Like it's always been kind of a joke.
I think it's fucking
It's
brilliant.
awesome. It's awesome. But
I'm on board with Limp Bizkit's new vibes.
Yeah, I just don't understand. But I think that people are just very surface level. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that when Slipknot was a thing, there was bands at the time. I owned Dying Fetus CDs and Cannibal Corpse CDs and DSI, all this stuff was around before I heard Slipknot. And I was like, okay, this isn't the heaviest thing I've ever heard, but this is still pretty fucking cool.
It's because they took they took death metal and they put it in a neat little package that anyone who liked remotely aggressive music could listen to and enjoy.
Sure.
And they had really relatable lyrics for that generation.
Oh yeah, I was fucking,
I was the angriest
15
teenager.
years old.
Fuck yeah, I was very much like the stereotypical fuck you mom type of teenager.
Totally.
I was an asshole when I was a kid.
Totally.
But that music that was the backdrop to how everything that I felt when I was that age.
Yeah, and I think that maybe I had some older friends that never really gave it a chance or gave much of a shit because it was Slipknot. And I remember when Iowa came out, I'm like, yo, listen to this record. It is fucking, it's Slipknot.
It started, they made blast beats, people's moms knew what a blast beat was because of that record,
Yeah.
And that's people get so snobby about genres and, oh, well, it's Slipknot. It's the cool, the people think that it's cool to not like something when really it's the complete opposite. People are it makes me cooler because I don't like what everyone else likes. My musical palette is so refined that I came out of the womb with a Cannibal Corpse shirt on. I've never listened to Korn or any of that nonsense. It's okay, sure thing, bud.
Sure, yeah.
You're not that cool.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too. Just keeping in mind where it's when Slipknot came out for us, we were barely teenagers, and we're just it's the whole package. It's okay, this is accessible, it's heavy, they look cool, the songs are angry. Fuck it all, fuck this world, fuck everything that you stand for.
Right. I would have tattooed that on my fucking forehead.
Don't give a shit. Don't ever judge me. I'll never forget.
Right. That's I wanted that to be my first tattoo, and I'm I love Slipknot to death.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I didn't get that tattoo though, because that would have been a real hard one to explain to some people.
I'm pretty sure that there was a point in time in my life when I also would have gotten a Slipknot tattoo if I would have been given the ability.